this second cross checking, I will take manual. I will call your name and for attendance also. So there will be cross verification of the attendance. The way you are giving attendance, perfect. So once again, I will take attendance for cross verification, and that attendance can be taken either at the beginning of the class or maybe at the end of the class. If I feel in between also, I can take the attendance. So one day being present in one day, that means there are two attendance of two classes. Okay, so two classes attendance will be there for every day, because you there are seventh and eighth class basically as per the schedule. So that is one way. And last day also I told that regarding the attendance, to appear in the final theory exam for this mechanics AM 1101, all the students supposed to have minimum 75% attendance, or else I will not allow that student to appear in the examinations for this subject. I don't know for the other subjects. IST Shipur, the protocol is for each and every faculty has to send the attendance report before exam. If if there is some lack of attendance of any of the students, that particular students will not be allowed to appear for that particular subject, say for mechanics AM 1101. Okay, fine. So then maybe we can start. Give 1 minute. Let's check it. Give me 1 minute. Let me make all the things ready. So last day I have given, I told about the syllabus, and briefly I have shown you that things. What are the things need to be, what are the things need to be covered here? That is already told to you. So okay. So just wait. I am checking on few things. Uh, okay, fine. So I can share the screen. Just confirm me whether you can see the screen or not. Is it visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, visible.
Yes, sir.
Very good, very good. Okay, let me check in color. Okay, okay, fine. So These slides are prepared from the following reference books for online classroom teaching purpose only. So no way this can be used for other purpose, only for online classroom teaching. So the reference book I have taken for this mainly engineering mechanics, that is statics, volume 1 by Merriam and Craig. And second one is vector mechanics for engineers, that is statics by Beer and Johnston. So mostly I will take from here, and few portions I will take from these books. So we are going to start day 1 lectures starting from statics. So when we are talking about that any structures, this is the one example of the structures. So you can see this is based on a principle of mechanics, and so this is the one view of New York City, that it is having very different types of various types of structural components. Okay, so that lecture 1 starts with force, moment, and equilibrium. Force, moments, and equilibrium. Okay, what is mechanics? So to start with, in brief, mechanics is the science which describes and predicts the conditions of rest or motions of bodies. So there are two things. One is at rest and in motions. That will happen due to the application of forces, by the action of forces. So in mechanics can be briefly classified into rigid bodies, that is having two parts, statics and dynamics. That indicates this mechanics or engineering mechanics is nothing but rigid body mechanics, and it has two parts. One is static, so the particle is at rest, and dynamics, particle is in motions. Then it might be having deformable bodies. Other name could be like solid mechanics. Some people call it strength of materials. And then it might have fluid mechanics. Three main parts: rigid body, deformable body, and fluid mechanics. Okay, or people say engineering mechanics, mechanics of solid, or strength of material, and fluid mechanics. And this mechanics is the foundations of most engineering sciences, and it is an indispensable prerequisites to their studies. Okay. Now, in basic concepts, we have space. You know what is space? Time, then mass, then last one is force. Mainly, we will cover this portion, force, here in this study. Force is the action of one body on the another. Okay. And force, it is trying to move the body in the direction of its actions. It tries, but whether it is capable or not, it depends upon the structure on which you are applying the force. So one important thing for force is we call line of actions. Force basically we apply through the line of action. Through the line of action. This is the most important word. Force has been applied through the line of actions. Okay, and of course force, it is having magnitude and direction, so we call it as a vector quantity. Now next is when we are considering particle. Particle is a body of the negligible dimensions. Yesterday we are talking about points, like it is having negligible dimensions. Different way we can think about the points. Next is rigid body. Rigid body is where, so you are applying some forces on a body, but that the body does not have any deformations. Okay, it does not have any deformation. No strain developed. No strain developed in the body due to the application of the load. That is called the rigid body. So concept of rigid body, maybe I'll give you very simple examples. Say I have one bar like this. I am applying some force here. Say force F. This is the cross sections, rectangular cross sections. Okay. So say consider this is deformable body. Say for example, it is made of steel. some like it is some you consider it scale kind of things, and it is metallic, made of stainless steel. We called ASS. Okay, mild steel we call MS. Now, due to the application load, what we can expect, the length will elongate. I'm exaggerating the value. Length is a delta. It is elongated length. Okay, deformations, and also cross section also will like width also decrease little bit. Correct. So maybe this way. So as a whole, the cross section supposed to reduced. Maybe I'll draw this way. Cross section reduced. Okay. Now I am interested to draw load F versus displacement, and I am considering this is load is not much higher, and it is linear. Response is linear to this. Now I have one open-ended questions to all of you. It is just like y equal to mx, correct? C equal to 0, m is the slope. So here the slope is represented like this. So m equal to nothing but tan theta. You know this. I am writing this is a theta. Now, can you tell me what this slope is represented by this mark? We will always use in engineering like this. So can you tell me what is called this slope? Slope of the load
Gradient.
displacement curve. Yeah,
Sir, differentiation. CL.
differential. Very good. So like maybe del f, del delta. That way you are considering. Okay. This is yes. Instant slope. Yes. Of course, by default, somebody can write this way also. Also df d delta. Okay. Very good. One option. Any other option? Any other?
Space.
Huh?
Delta F by delta S.
Okay, delta F by delta S. Very good. Anything else? Delta like this.
So tan theta is equal to F. Tan theta is equal to F by S.
Yes, tan theta equal to F by delta. Okay. Anything else? Fine. You very good. F by delta. Now tell me what is called F by delta. What is that? What is the we term this F by delta?
Stress.
Young's modulus.
Young modulus.
Young's modulus.
Why?
Okay.
Young's modulus.
Denoted by E. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Okay. Now tell me, this is in Newton and this is a millimeter. Okay. So this unit basically Newton per millimeter. Is not it? This F is Newton, this is millimeter. Newton per millimeter. What is that unit of Young's modulus? What is the unit of Young's modulus? If it is Newton and millimeter system?
Newton per meter
square.
Newton per millimeter square. We call MPa, megapascal.
Newton per.
Yeah, actually 10 to the power 6 Newton per meter square. This is Pascal, correct? So we call megapascal, MPa. But so this unit and this unit is not matching, correct? Is not it? So
Yes,
this slope cannot be Young's modulus. Okay, it cannot be Young's modulus. Anything else?
So modulus of rigidity.
Modulus of rigidity. What is the unit of that? That is also unit of stress.
So it's pascals, right?
This is Newton per meter square is Pascal. Okay.
Yes,
so 10 to the power 6 Pascal. Unit of stress basically. Okay. E value. But it is Newton per millimeter. Okay. I am redefining this. Force required to produce unit.
Sir, force constant.
So if this is force required to produce unit displacement, you call force constant. So from where you heard this name, force constant?
In spring.
in spring. Very good.
So Hooke's law.
Yes, sir.
So this
Stiffness.
is K. Okay, K denoted by K, spring constant. Okay, somebody called stiffness. Okay, very good. I will use this word, stiffness. K is stiffness. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this stiffness. So all the things I'm not telling that apart from Young's modulus concept, all everybody is correct. There's stiffness. Now there members may be many types. We call this is one member. Other is called this type. Other is called maybe circular cross section here. This type. Okay. I have applied say here F force, here also F force. Here I have applied, we call torque applied. Okay. Torque. I'll come to that. We call this is the axial member. This is called bending member. This is called torsional member. In very brief, so one member can act as the axial member, it can act as a bending member, or it can act as the torsional member. Same component can act like this, or maybe combination of this. Okay. Now every time we call this is called axial stiffness. Similar way, it is called bending stiffness. This is called torsional stiffness. Understood? I did the experiment. I got this. Now question is, now next idea is, here this cross section is A and maybe initial length was L. Okay. So we are getting one strain. This is strain epsilon. That's it delta by L. Okay. And stress sigma. A little bit updated versions I am telling, but it is very interesting. Stress will be, F by A. Okay. Now I am dividing F by A and delta by L. Sigma epsilon. So I am getting another graph like this. What I did, whatever value I have, from experiment, what we are measuring? We are measuring load and displacement only, correct? Now, if I divide this force by area, original area, we call the engineering stress strain curve. Okay, this is stress and this is displacement divided by length. I am getting this curve. Now tell me, which is this slope called?
Young's modulus.
Young's modulus.
Right. Very good. Okay. Now you are correct. So basically in experiment we are doing this, and this is the this if I apply the force, but we never put force as the horizontal. We put force plot force in the vertical. This is the force displacement concept of stiffness. Actually concept of stiffness and concept of Young's modulus. Now, very interesting thing. So I am applying one load. Okay. But due to the application of the load, there is no deformation at all. Okay. If there is no deformation, but load we are applying, so car is supposed to go like this, is not it? We are applying load, but no displacement, no deformation. Then your car should go vertically, like, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
strain also will be zero. It's supposed to go vertically. It should go vertically in that case. When this displacement, okay, always zero, no displacement, strain is zero, then curve is vertical. Okay, that scenario, that means K is infinity or E is infinity. Okay, that is called rigid body. You are applying some load, but there is no deformation at all in the body, or there is no strain at all. So it will go to the rigid body concept. Understood? Concept of rigid body has come from
Yes, sir.
yes. That
Yes,
is
sir.
a rigid body.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we have simplified the problem here. In mechanics, we will be doing the rigid body analysis. Rigid body, we will consider the body as a rigid, so no deformation at all. But in other, so that's why we call this one as a this is rigid body. Okay. On it is deformable, we will go for mechanics of solid or solid mechanics, strength of material. Same subject, different names. So that way we have defined the rigid body concept. Okay. Now, last I told that elementary mechanics is mainly governed by 6 fundamental principles. Last day I have discussed. So one is parallelogram law of addition of forces. So of course subtraction also will be included here. Then principle of transmissibility. Say it is a rigid body and this is the line of action. Okay, this is the line of action. Now whether you are applying load here or here or here, if you are not changing the line of actions, the effect of the application of the load on the rigid body will be same. There will be no change at all as the body will experience. That formula is known as principle of transmissibility. We can translate the force, okay, or we can change the application of the load application point of the load along the line of actions. So that's why I told line of action is the key word here. We call principle of transmissibility. Now Newton's first law, second, third, and Newton's law of gravitation. These 6 fundamental laws elementary mechanics will be based on. Next I am moving that yes, units. You know we have 2 types of unit. We call base unit or primary unit. Other is we call derived unit. Okay, basic unit we call basic unit. Other is derived unit. You know mass, length, time. Basic, and we can have many things derived unit. Now we could have SI unit, FPS unit, CGS unit, and we call US customary units, where we measure this foot for length, second for time, pound for mass. And we may have some sort of unit conversions like inch to millimeter, foot to meter, pound force to Newton or kg, or slug to kg, or maybe with some Newton. That one you can easily do this. Now in SI unit we have many prefix. Okay, so we have started from meter. If I see this is the meter form, so this is if it is meter, then deca, hecto, kilo, mega, giga, tera. Okay, so we have here meter. Then we can go deci, centi, milli, micro mechanics for a micro. Now it is nanotechnology, nano. Somebody is working in 10 to the power minus 9 meter, that scale. Okay. So even like I'm working some of the work in carbon nanotube. So those are nanotubes. So nano level dimensions. Its diameter is around 8 nanometer or 7 nanometer for multi-wall carbon nanotubes. Now the coming era will be pico, 10 to the power minus 12. Now on that we are talking about, no, if I say they draw one point, you draw this or this. So for you this is the point, dimensionless. But if you go for pico level, okay, so this is not a point, correct? It is having some dimensions. So it is relative. Okay. But anyway, we will consider point as the dimensionless quantity. Whether you are drawing that one using your normal pen or something others, it differs. No issue. Okay. Now, once again, very common things, everything in 10 plus 2 standard you have read. I am magnifying, I am using some magnifying glass. Say for I have one magnifying glass, its magnification factor, say 10 to the power 12 plus, or 10 to the power minus 12 minus. So I have very big body, I can use 10 to the power minus 12 magnification factor. When I have very smaller size body, I'll use some positive magnifications. Okay. Now, scalar you know, vector also you know. Now, I want to classify vector into three types. We call free vector, sliding vector, other is we call fixed vector. First of all, what is free vector? One thing you have to recall, vector means it is always having direction. Direction says this direction I am the horizontal, H. Direction is H. Now, free vector is something that, yes, is direction means horizontal, that will be same. I cannot change that one. Okay. But in free vector, I can change the line of actions. I can change the line of actions. I'm drawing that free vector say. So if I change this line of actions, of course direction will be same, but if it represents the same thing, then that type of vector we called as the free vector. Okay. Here in the books you have one nice examples, like when one body is moving without any rotations. Okay. The movement or displacement of any point of the body may be taken as a vector. And this vector describes equally well the direction and magnitude of the displacement of every point in the body. Thus, we may consider this as a free vector. Okay. So always I am recommending you, I am putting the syllabus, everything covering in a very concise manner. You have to go through your textbook. I cannot be the substitute of the textbook. Next is sliding vector. What is sliding vector? As I told, say this is the line of actions. Sliding vector is something, it can slide. It can slide along the line of actions. Line of action, I can write LA, line of actions. So, sliding vector has unique line of actions in space, but not unique point of applications. So, we are say if this is the point of application, I am changing the point of application. Arrowhead is the point of application. Say, example, when an external force acts on a rigid body, okay, force can be applied at any point along its line of actions without changing the effect of the body, considering the equation. By which law? By which law this I can move? By law of transmissibility. Very good. Okay. Now fixed vector. Fixed vector is something when the unique point of application is important. Say for examples, I have a mat. I have a mat or sponge. Okay. If I apply here load, and if I apply here load or here, very soft material, tissue kind of things. Do you think that effect will be same?
No, sir.
Yes, you are right. So it will be different. So it depends upon the point of applications. Point of application is also important. So that is the fixed vector. Now let's go for convention of equations and diagram. Okay. So generally we represent vector by its magnitude and directions, and maybe this is the horizontal, theta is representing the directions, and if it is positive, v is the vector, so negative vector, you know how we can write that. Now vector, when you are to add two vectors, we call vector sum, using vector sum. It is not algebraic sum, it is vector sum. But there will be some special case, like one vector is this is V1, this is V2, then it is algebraic sum, correct? Or this is V1, this is V2, subtraction, it is algebraic sum. But it is special case. In any case, if I have two vectors like, we have to go through the vector sum. It will be followed by parallelogram law or triangular law. Okay. So you have to draw like V1, V2, then you get this resultant V1, V2 triangular law. This is the resultant. Okay. When you want to subtract, like this V1 minus V2, then similar way you can have this one. This. Okay. Now this one we told I have two vectors. I want to get that resultant, but so I have only one vector. I want to decompose. I want to decompose one vector into two vectors, or maybe you just very funny examples. Polygon law. Maybe I can give you like this. I have this, this, this. Say V1, V2, V3, V4, and this is the resultants R. So of course, if I can add V1, V2, or maybe you can consider all polygon law is nothing but summation of many triangles. So if I can add V1, V2, V3, V4, get this resultant R, why not? This one vector can be decomposed into many vectors. Okay, possible, correct? If I can add everything, then one vector can be decomposed also. Now decomposing that, very simple one. One vector I want to decompose into 1, 2 directions, but here theta not equal to 90 degree. Okay, but it may have some 90 degree also here, coordinate x and y. You recall this 1, 2, but here x coordinate, y coordinate, so they are orthogonal. 90 degree to each other. So I can have this type of decomposition of the vector also. It is two part, Vx and Vy along x and y direction. Now x may not be horizontal every time. You see here it is x prime and y prime, they are inclined with the horizontal. H stands for horizontal, say V stands for vertical. Okay, so it is inclined. Now, but it is orthogonal. Now, if it is orthogonal system, it is very easy. That x component is V cosine x, Vx equal to V cosine x, and Vy equal to V sine x. And also, V sine theta, Vx equal to V cosine theta, this is V sine theta, and theta is governed by this. V is the resultant. Or we have V is the original vector, we have decomposed into two here. Okay. For three-dimensional case also, we can consider unit vector concept and say this is the one vector V. It is having I, J, K, 3 unit vector along x, y, and z, 3 orthogonal planes. This is I'm talking about 3 dimension. 3 dimensional. In short, we write 3D. 2-dimensional, we write 2D. Okay. So this V we can decompose into Vx, Vy, Vz, 3 components along x, y, z, and I, J, K are the unit vectors. So basically V is nothing but it will be governed by these expressions. Now this you see here theta x along x, theta y along y, theta z along z. Now if somebody considered L equal to cosine theta x, M equal to cosine theta y, N equal to cosine theta z, then we can rewrite that V vector is equal to Vx equal to LV, Vy equal to MV, Vz equal to NV, and V square equal to Vx square plus Vy square plus Vz square. How we can get this? Very nice. First of all, we will consider x, y, and we will get this resultant. Maybe color I can change. Okay. Just a minute. So this is the resultant. Double arrow I am presenting. So this is resultant 1, R1. Now this R1 is the resultant between Vx and Vy, and it is cube. If it is cube, so we will be getting square and we can get resultant. Now this resultant along with Vz, I can draw another plane. Now consider Initially it was xy plane. Now consider this plane. This plane, there are two vectors, r1 and this v2. Sorry, vz. In this plane, this is the resultant. Final resultant is v. Okay. If I consider vx, vy, vz, I can get v, or v I can decompose into vx, vy, vz. Now in this case, this r1 was square root vx square plus vy square, and this v basically square root r1 square plus vz square. Then finally we will get, sorry, vx square, vy square, vz square. So that is the way you can get this one. So, and the similar way, if you put here this one, else this vx, lv, mv, nv, vx, vy, vz, then l square plus m square plus n square equal to 1. Okay. Lmn is nothing but cosine component of along with x axis, y axis, and z axis. Cosine theta. Okay. This is the resultant. This is x. Basically, this is x. This is the resultant. This is the y, and this is the resultant with the z axis. Now, very important thing you consider: L equal to m equal to n. All are same. That means theta x equal to theta y equal to theta z. That indicates that V is aligned such that it is making equal angle with all x, y, and z coordinate. Theta x equal to theta y equal to theta z. Then L square plus m square plus n square equal to 1 will give L equal to m equal to n equal to square root 1 by 3. Okay. And if you calculate this, let me check. Square root this. Just wait. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, very good. I'm not finding my mobile now. No problem. Okay. So if you calculate that way, that all L equal to m equal to n, then finally you can get this value, and theta equal to 54.76 degree. Okay. What is the significance? It is very nice that you will get in near future. We will consider that is one cylinder that is inclined with equal angle with x, y, and z, and we will consider some sort of, we call that failure theory. We call failure theory due to yielding, and one theory called von Mises test. Their consideration is it is having infinite cylinder which is aligned with both x, y, and z directions equally, and that is making theta equal to 54.76 degree, and any point inside the cylinder will be considered as safe life. It will not fail. And very interestingly, in this case, if you put z equal to 0, you will get one ellipse. If you cut here, it is inclined basically, and if you cut here, for z equal to 0, okay, then you will get that one ellipse. You will get the ellipse, and that ellipse, maybe this is the center, okay, and that ellipse will give you that idea that von Mises stress criteria. If stresses are within this ellipse, the material is in safe zone. So from the very beginning, very conceptual thing in 3-dimensional, I can reach to the other theory or concept in your near future. So that's why always I told that mechanics will consider as the fundamental of the all engineering discipline. Okay, we'll get analytical skill from the very fundamentals, nothing new. I believe everything you have learned in 10 plus 2 standard. Only I have the one magnifying glass. That magnification factor is different. That's all. Okay. So we are here. Now next is force. Okay. We already told force means it is a vector, and say this is the structure. We have applied one force here, and having some horizontal, some theta, we can have this force, some component like in horizontal, vertical, and many more, and it is a vector quantity. Now there are two types of force. One is external, another is due to the force. There are two effects. One is called external, other is the internal effect. Let me show you very interesting thing. Say I have one mass m or maybe weight mg suspended from the cable. Okay. Now I want to draw a cut here. If I cut here, it will be mg and there will be some tension T here. If I cut, initially there is a say this is undergoing some T equal to mg from vertical balance we will do equilibrium. I'll come to that one later, but you understood this is mgt. Once again, if I consider these portions, so only this, then also it is T and T. Very interesting. Sorry, T and T. Very interesting is it is external force was we have applied this mg, some external force, but this cable is having some under tension, that is T. Whatever I will cut, initially it was internally acting. Those will be exposed to the atmosphere, and it becomes external in that case. If I highlight this, and this is the portions. Initially everything was internal, but when I cut here, imaginary cut, then this internal forces become exposed to the external one, and I want to represent by some force T. Okay. We'll come that one later also. Principle of transmissibility already told. Force classifications. Okay. Force, we can say it may be contact force. It may be body force. What are the body force? Centrifugal force, weight, those are the body force. What are the contact force? When there are two parts, they are in contact, and we have applied the load. Through the contact definitions, load will be transferred from this body to this body. Body 1 and body 2. Due to the contact, here is contact. We may have some point. We can apply the load at a point also. Concentrated force, we can consider concentrated force, or maybe force can be, we call some force per length. Some force A per length. So I have say we have brick. If I consider one wall, there is a brick, and thickness is always same of the brick considered, say 5-inch wall or 10-inch wall, and I consider that due to the brick or maybe the roof, the force applied on the brick, I want to consider per unit length. Okay. Or maybe I have total roof and I applied some sort of or maybe you consider one airplane, it is having some skin. On the skin there are some aerodynamic force is being acting, and we convert that force per unit area, we call that is the pressure. Okay. So that force can be, contact type, maybe contact force, body force, point force, line force. What is line force? Per unit length. What is distributed force? Per unit area. Okay. Of course, body force also distributed over the body, distributed over the entire body. Okay. This is not required. Then, as I told, some action and reactions, Newton's third law. Now, next is concurrent force. Concurrent forces are something when those forces are passing through a particular point. Concurrent is particular point. F1, F2, they are passing through one particular point. That's why we can have resultant using triangular law or parallelogram law. Okay. Now, there can be, instead of concurrent force, there could be some other type of force. there could be some other type of force also apart from the concurrent force. Let me explain a little bit for your better understanding that. That is, we called first about force system. Before that, force system is a collection of forces or group of forces that is acting at some specified locations of the body. Okay, and that force system also might include couple or torque, which I will come to the point later. Now there are very particular points like collinear and non-collinear. Collinear means line of actions are same. So this force, these three forces are collinear. What are the non-collinear force? Line of actions are different. Collinear, non-collinear forces. Okay. Now coplanar and non-coplanar forces. So I have to draw one plane. There are some forces like this. This is a coplanar forces. Non-coplanar forces means I have drawn here two different planes. Sorry, handwriting is not good because due to this, writing in online using graphics pen. Okay, mouse basically. So here
Sir, it is enough. You are writing.
Okay,
It
sure,
is
sure.
really very
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Thank you. Okay. So now these are the forces. These are the forces here, and these are the forces here. So this is the non-coplanar because this set is coplanar, this set is coplanar, but along this and this, it is non-coplanar force systems. Okay. Next is concurrent and non-concurrent. As I told, concurrent forces. So this is the point. Line of actions are such that they are meeting here or they are moving away from that particular point. Okay, non-concurrent means they are apposite. Now I want to use the combination of everything, coplanar and concurrent. What is that? This will go. This is the plane. Sorry, 1 minute. This is plane and concurrent. Coplanar and concurrent. Coplanar and concurrent. This is non-coplanar and concurrent. How is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Let's draw here. This is the brick size, hexagonal, and forces are such that this is one force, this is another force, and this is another force. F1, F2, F3. They are non-coplanar but concurrent. Now non-coplanar and non-concurrent. Okay. That can be drawn like this. This is non-coplanar, non-concurrent. Now coplanar and non-concurrent. Coplanar, plane is same, and non-concurrent. Okay. So these are the way we can have different types of force systems. But very nice one or easy one is that is collinear. Okay, and also concurrent. This is the two things very easy because easily we can get resultant for that case. Okay. Now this is two-dimensional problem. Sorry. So I'm considering here two-dimensional problem that I have two-dimensional problem. I want to resolve one force into two separate forces. As I told before also, I, J directions. That means this is X, this is Y, this is I, this is J, this is the force F. I want to decompose this way, Fx, Fy, maybe this is theta. I told before also. Okay. Now, yes, here it is shown. So we know F equal to basically this. this f equal to fx equal to f cosine theta, f sin theta, and this is the result. It is very simple because we have considered, we have decomposed the force fx, fy, and we make everything is coplanar, and coplanar and concurrent. Now another one, another examples. There are two vector forces. So we consider first of all different types of vector. Then we have moved to forces as the vector, and we are deriving the things in terms of the force only. Now there are two forces, say F1 and F2. This is the F1, F2. This is representing magnitude as well as the directions. Magnitude as well as the directions are in vector form. This is the F1 and F2. Now I can consider two-dimensional orthogonal xy plane along with I and j unit vector. So concentrate on F1. F1, I want to decompose into two components, along x and along y. F1x and F1y. F1x and F1y. Then this F2, I want to, F2 means, from this to this, you have to recall, this to this, I want to decompose into two directions, x and y. F2x, this is the F2y. F2x, F2y. Now this is the resultant R. I want to decompose into x and y, Rx and Ry. See, this to this, so this is the Ry and this is the Rx. So what we got basically, this somebody can write in vector form also like this. R equal to vector sum of F1 and F2. R is the resultant. F1 is nothing but this. Somebody can write this way also. F2 is this. So R, this is this, because different books write different way. Okay. Now you have to recall this Rx. This is the component. This is the scalar component. This is the component. Similarly, Vx, Fx, F1x component. These components are scalar. These components are scalar quantity. That's why this scalar multiplied by vector. Okay, scalar quantity multiplied by vector. So if I decompose this way, I can see this is for I, Rx equal to F1x plus F2x equal to summation Fx. It may be plus, it may be minus algebraic sum, because these are the component. Rx and Ry is the components. That's why Ry equal to F1y, F2y, summation Fy. These are the components. As this is the components, this is the algebraic summations. It may be plus, it may be minus. This summation is nothing but algebraic summations. You have to be very careful when you write V equal to Vxi, plus Vyj, this are scalar. As these are the scalar quantity, this is the algebraic sum. These are the algebraic sum. Summation Fx, algebraic sum. Summation Fy, it is algebraic sum. So when you are considering summation Fx and Fy, you must have to represent x and y. Sometimes what students did, they didn't write x and y, and they move and write summation Fx, summation Fx, summation Fy. As the examiner, I cannot understand, because somebody might be having, this is the x, this is the x and this is the y. Somebody may consider this is y, this is x. I don't know. You should not say always like horizontal is x or vertical is y. No, not at all. Okay, horizontal should be represented by h, vertical should be represented by v, capital H, capital V, or else xy cannot be horizontal. Okay, it is maybe inclined with any direction, but up to 10 plus 2 standard, you have the convention that x is always in horizontal. No, in engineering, x is not always horizontal. Understood? X may be vertical also. Yes, nobody can stop me. If I can write, this is x and this is y, because it is my intention. I am defining x and y coordinate. No way it will be always horizontal. Only A stands for horizontal, V stands for vertical. That is for sure. Okay. Done. Next, let's solve one problem. Okay, just a minute. Give 1 minute. Okay, students. Now, next, here one example we can discuss. That is, combine two forces P and T in this figure, P and T, which act on the fixed structures at B. Here, both P and T are acting at this point B into a single equivalent force. So, roughly there are two forces. Say for example, you have to, so this is P, so this is T, any two force. You have to combine these two to get into single force. Resultant. So resultant supposed to have some magnitude and directions, as it is vector. Two forces. Now there will be many ways we can solve this problem. Okay. One is called graphical solutions. So graphical solution will use scale. Say for example, you want that 800 or 600. There are two. Maybe somebody can use that 100 pound. 100 pound equal to 1 inch in scale. Then you have to consider that 8 inch. You have to write 8 inch and 6 inch. 8 inch and 6 inch. So you have one plain paper. Okay. If you have one plain paper, you can consider that in that paper 8 inch and 6 inch, whether you can accommodate or not. Yes, sometimes it may be difficult. So do one thing. You consider 200 pound equal to force equal to 1 inch. And 200 pound equal to 1 inch. That means this is, you will represent by 4 inch, and this is by, say this is by, not here. Just I'm telling for your convenience. This is 4 inch and this is 3 inch. Okay. Yes, that A4 page is okay for this. Now you will use scale, your geometrical instrument to do this. So what you have to do, see, if force is, this T is acting through B and passing through A, and this is making angle alpha. And alpha value you can easily calculate. This alpha value you can easily calculate. How you can calculate alpha? You can, this is 3 feet, 6 feet. Okay. So this alpha, to calculate the alpha, okay, if this angle is 60 degree. If it is at 60 degree, this is 6 inch. So you can calculate this to this using sine theta equal to this, this by this equal to sine theta. So you can get this basically this line. Then from cosine theta concept you can get this line. So this to this you can calculate. Then this to this you can calculate. So tan alpha will be this BD divided by AD, and you can get alpha. Once you know the alpha, what you have to do? You have to draw here one horizontal line. Then that alpha, you draw that alpha. Because this alpha you got, this is a horizontal line, or maybe you can write X also. You got this horizontal line. Now, what you can do, as I told, this is 3 inch, correct? From this to this, in scale you measure 3 inch here. So this is 3 inch. Or you 3 inch, but you have to write 600 pound. Okay. Then this one is 4 inch. You draw this 4 inch, roughly this. Then draw parallelogram. It will cut here. Then draw this line. This is the resultant R, and maybe this is the theta. You can measure and you can get the theta. So that way you can get, okay, R value. You can get R value as this and theta. This is using graphical methods. This is one method to solve this. It's called graphical method. What is the other way? Okay, we call geometric solutions. Okay. One is very common, that law of sine. You can use this. You can use law of sine. You know the alpha already calculated. A law of sine will get the value of theta and also the resultant value. This resultant value you can get. Here you consider this is 1, this is 2, this is alpha, this is the resultant. So if that is equivalent to like this, I think this, say if I consider this is P, just I'm trying to get equivalent things. So this is I'm considering Q, but I have considered this as a Q, then I can get this resultant. But unfortunately here scenario is different. Here this P along this, sorry, this one like this. So what I can do, I'll draw like this, and I can have, this will be the resultant, correct? 1 minute. This is the P along the, let me check here. This is the P and this is the directions. So this will be here. This will be T, I guess. And this way it acts, then this will be the governing equations. This will be the governing equation to calculate the R value. Okay. Then you will get this R, you will get this theta. Geometric, first was graphical, then it was geometric solutions. Next is algebraic solutions. So what I want to do, I want to write Rx, Ry, R, that concept. Rx equal to Fx, provided you have to give X and Y correctly. Rx you can get this value 800, go here, 800 minus this one, 600, this alpha, this is alpha. So 600 alpha, yes, 600 alpha. Ry will be, there will be no component of P along this direction. So it will be T sine alpha with minus sign. Okay. So these are the two values, and resultant is this and theta is this. And then somebody can write R equal to Rxi and Ryj in vector form. And this is the solutions. I believe this algebraic sum is the maybe little bit new one, but we will follow this. Because when we will be talking about equilibrium, we will put summation fx equal to 0, summation fy 0, summation fz 0, 3 dimension. Mx, moment around x 0, my equal to 0, mz equal to 0, summation. So that way we will move. Okay. So one option we will always follow here, that is algebraic solutions. Now next is moment. Okay.
Excuse me,
Sir,
sir.
can you please give us a 10-minute break? It's tough to stay screen for so long.
Yes, sir.
Sure. You should tell. Very good. You should tell this way. Okay. Keep it. Okay. So now it is 4:38. Okay. So you join at 4:50.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
But this recording will be on, because I'll stop at the end. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, and thank you very much for telling this, because for me, I'm reading or studying this 20. Okay, for you it
Yes,
is
sir.
new. I know, although everything you know, all the words you know, but I'm using higher magnifying glass. Okay.
Yes, sir.
10 minutes break. We'll be back at actually 12 minutes break. Sharp 4:50. Okay.
Okay,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, okay.
রাস্তা জায়গা পুরা